Hey, what is happening, people? Woodsy Workout here, and we are on to episode 8 of the Hyrox Deep Dive series. The final station, we are talking wall balls. I'm going to break down technique, how to train for it, and race strategy. So let's get to it. The wall balls are arguably the most skill-based station in Hyrox. On average, it takes the longest, but more importantly, it has the biggest dispersion of times. The slow guys are slow, the fast guys are fast. So mastering the wall balls can save you not only a lot of time, but allow you to move ahead of the competition. So let's start with technique. Firstly, positioning. You want to be roughly an arm's length from the wall. If you have short arms, you can take half a step back, but it should feel quite close. It encourages an upright posture and it stops the ball from pulling you down. Next, we want to hold the ball underneath the chin with your hands spread out and underneath the ball, not on the sides. Elbows underneath as well. Tilt the head back slightly and look up towards the target. From there, we want to go into our squat. So you want to emphasize pushing the knees forward to keep the torso more upright. Once we reach depth, driving straight up out of the bottom, but forcefully extending the hips and using that momentum to go straight into your press. Pushing all the way up and then flicking your wrists at the end to create that slight forward propulsion so you should finish with your index pointing towards the target. If you don't get that flick, you've got your hands on the side of the ball, the ball will just go straight up without hitting the target, and so that'll be a no rep. When receiving the ball, we want to absorb the impact with the next rep, so we're squatting down as we catch it, guessing depth and reversing back out. Like a trampoline, we want to rebound that force into the next rep and not stop dead before going into the next squat. Now, all of those points require good squatting patterns and mobility. So if you struggle to get depth, then you can take a position with your feet wider and your toes turned out slightly. So you're in this more of a kind of sumo stance, which will be a little bit more taxing on the adductors, but it should allow your hips to get lower with your torso upright. So you're more likely to get good clean reps. For those with good mobility, a common question is, should I go all the way down when I only have to break parallel to get the rep? Hitting the bottom of a squat allows you a stretch reflex to occur, whereby you kind of bounce out of the bottom and it gives you some momentum to spring back up. It also requires less muscular tension because you're not using your muscles to break the force, stop and change direction. So if you can comfortably hit the bottom of a squat without any issues, then it can be effective. However, this works best if you have relatively short legs compared to your torso, particularly your upper legs, your femur length. If you have long legs and long femurs, the difference between breaking parallel and hitting the bottom of the squat is quite far apart, and it means that the rep is slower and the spring you get from hitting the bottom of the squat is kind of negated by the time you get back up to parallel. So I've experimented with this myself. If I hit the bottom of my squat, my cycle rate is slower, but I can do bigger sets. And if I work on just breaking parallel, my cycle rate is quicker. And I can actually finish the 100 reps quicker, even if it means I take more breaks. So find what's right for you and have a little experiment with it. 3 common mistakes when it comes to wall balls. Number 1, letting the ball pull you down. When you're tired, it's very easy to let the ball pull your torso forward and your head goes down. It keeps the hips up in the air and it makes it harder to hit depth. It puts a lot of load through the lower back as well because you're then using it to try and bring it back up. To prevent this, keep your eyes looking up and your elbows underneath the ball. Number 2, catching on the side of the ball. As I mentioned earlier, if your hands are on the side, you can't flick your wrists, so it actually causes the shoulders to burn out quicker, and it can also fall through your hands because at this point in the race, things are pretty sweaty. So spread your fingers, keep your hands underneath and your thumbs close together. And number 3, breaking up the reps. If you don't cycle your reps smoothly, you lose a lot of momentum and free energy. If you stop when you catch and you stop at the top of the squat before pressing, it becomes so much harder. So work on smoothly transitioning from receiving the ball, going straight into your squat, and as you come up, popping the hips and flowing straight into the throw. So that's technique. Now, how do we train for it? Well, the best thing you can do for wall balls is get better at squatting below parallel in an upright stance. So working on your ankle mobility with movements like these will allow your knees to travel further over your toes. Holding a deep squat, mobilizing your thoracic spine all contribute to a better squat position. From there, you can build strength with goblet squats and front squats, and working on building your muscular endurance with lightweight wall balls, dumbbell thrusters, or even just body weight squats. If you find your shoulders burn out, then seated wall balls isolate your core and shoulders and immediately create that burn. And the final piece is cardiovascular. Wall balls is such a big full body movement, it will jack your heart rate up. So if your technique is good, then it just comes down to your cardiovascular endurance. And you can work on this with high intensity intervals where you run fast and you do big sets of wall balls until failure, or more zone 2 work where you do long steady runs and then light short sets of wall balls where you don't allow your heart rate to get up too high. Now finally, let's talk race strategy. The wall balls are the final station, and this is where you can really send it. Really pushing up against the limits, and when you do brush up against those limits, it becomes a mental battle. So to overcome this, I give myself rules. I have an expectation and I have a plan, but my rules are non-negotiable, and they are: 1, when I pick the ball up, I'm doing no less than 10 reps, and when I put the ball down, I can't rest no more than 10 breaths. And this forces me to calm down and control my breathing between sets. And then when we're doing the reps, often when you first pick it up, you get an overwhelming feeling of, oh my God, can't do this, need to stop. But I already know I'm at least getting 10 reps. Now remember, you can set your own rules and plans. I've tried a lot of different ways of breaking it up. And as I've got better at wall balls, I've changed my plans and my strategies. A really good one is the chipper from 16 down to 9. So you start with 16 reps, then 15, and then 14 down to 9, and that totals 100. And the sets get a little bit more manageable as you fatigue. In my last race, I used this strategy, but I just put together the last 2 sets, so I finished with set 19, because I feel like when you're right at the end, you've got that last bit of energy, you just find a way to knock them out and cross the line. And there you have it, the final deep dive episode. Next week, I will be doing a bonus one on the running in Hyrox. If you enjoyed the video, like, share, and if you have any questions, drop a comment. For coaching or anything else, reach out to me on Instagram @WoodsyWorkout, where you can find plenty more tips and tricks on all things health and fitness. Until next time, peace.